Fuck you, I'm smarter, bitch.
I can't believe you're going to rig this game.
We don't want to feel dumb anymore.
I feel so stupid right now.
We're here to find out if we're actually dumb. Don't ask us any questions.
Two bumbling morons. Fuck you, I'm smarter.
Welcome to Fuck You, I'm Smarter, the comedy game show where we compete with a guest to be crowned the smartest person in the room. Zoom, YouTube, live. Does I sound like Oprah?
No.
Oh.
Whoa! It's getting worse. I see where you're going with it.
No.
I think you should stop. Also, I can't take you seriously with this penis above your head. I wish you guys, those on the YouTube live, which no one is right now, but those of you who might be watching this later, you're seeing the penis above Lindsey's head. But I just want you guys to know, who are just listening, just the regular podcast ways. Oh, my cat has something to say. Oh no, he's just having sex with his mouth.
Not again.
Okay, first of all I wanted to say is we have a beautiful chalkboard behind us that we record in front of, and it makes us feel like we're in school. And we drew penises and that weird S thing.
Yeah, we don't know what to
and
call
like
it.
pen 15 penis, and like we wrote our homework. Anarchy, etc. Anyway. That's all. That's all I had to say
see
about
that if you watch us on
Exactly.
YouTube Live, and you can find us on Instagram. Go to our links in our bio, and you will
Lindsey
find
did a
the
lot
link
of
to
work.
that.
She created a link tree. Okay,
I did.
So like we're paying for a link tree. So pay us with your listens.
I don't know if we're paying for it.
Oh, we're not paying.
I
for
don't
it?
think so.
Is it free?
I think.
Anyway,
Well-
effort, time is money. It doesn't matter. We're not gonna try to like guilt you into listening if you're not
Summer
listening already.
break
It's
is
over.
People, we're back to school. Thank you for letting us take a little break. Kelly got to take a little break from editing.
I mean, I didn't. I just did it all in 1 week instead of 4.
Right, but like then you got to not worry about
Yeah.
it for weeks at
it
a
was
time.
nice. It was very nice.
But we're back. School's back in session. We're wearing our masks.
Not right now.
No, but in the school day where everyone's wearing masks.
The school that we go to, the imaginary school that we go to of Fuck You, I'm Smarter, you have to be vaxxed.
Yes.
Just like your rubella and your polio and all the other bullshit that you were supposed to get as children, which is like there's always been a vaccine passport, people.
Right.
Like it's literally been public school and traveling. But what was I going to say?
We're also COVID testing.
We're COVID testing ourselves.
once a week.
And each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we both went on vacation. We both went to the South.
We went to the South. What a place to go now.
Yeah. It's
Sorry,
nice because COVID's not even happening in the South.
Apparently it's not.
It's really
They
great.
don't think it is.
You just do whatever you want there.
Do whatever you want because your liberty is more important than my life.
My country tis. Okay.
Sweet land of liberty.
So you know the dueling dragons in Universal?
Oh, I do. I really loved it. I wrote it twice. The second time I threw up.
Well, we had the dueling dragons of vacations
We
because
did.
we both started in North Carolina and
Correct.
saw each other in North Carolina.
We were a one-night wonder.
And then I went up and Kelly went down.
Yeah. And by up and down, she means north and south.
Yes. So I started in North Carolina. I had a few days before Kelly got there. Then we saw each other outside of Charlotte, like an hour and a half outside of Charlotte.
Mhm.
We went to a lake house with a bunch of old friends.
Yeah.
Kelly stayed the whole week.
Just about.
There were 15 people staying in one house on this gorgeous lake.
The thing is, the house was so big that you didn't feel like you were crowded at all.
At all. It felt so spread out and so nice.
Yeah. It was on a lake. There were even koi fish.
There was
there's a koi
turtle in the lake
In the
hanging
lake.
out with us. A big ass turtle.
I don't know if he was hanging out or if he was planning his attack.
Yeah, he looked like he was.
I love turtles.
He was a little aggressive.
I wasn't sure if this one was
Yeah.
was a true friend.
Yeah. Do you remember I was on the pool floaty and something happened where you had this rope to kind of bring you back up onto the dock, and the rope got stuck on my floaty and it popped it and it started deflating. And I was
Yes.
like literally laying on a deflated
"No."
unicorn, or it was a dragon. It was dueling dragons.
Dueling dragons.
Wow, dueling dragons. I didn't even mean to do that. There were dueling dragon pool floats.
I bought them. I love them. I gave one to my sister.
So from my trip, I went north. I drove from North Carolina to the town where this lake was to New York. It took us 13 hours. We went through Virginia.
Wait, sorry, you started in where your parents live in North Carolina.
Then I saw
then
you
to
guys.
the Lexington house in North Carolina.
Then we drove to New York City.
Got it.
New York City.
Is that where they make the salsa?
It took us 13 hours in the car. Me and my boyfriend and my parents. Okay. 13.
In one car?
In one car.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Does your dad do his neat
Chinchilla?
what's the chinchilla?
He goes, there's a chinchilla in the car, and then he swerves back and forth like a crazy person.
Oh, that's so unsafe.
Yeah, no, he didn't do chinchilla.
That wasn't what I was asking if
hideous yells.
No. Tell us what hideous yells is.
Hideous yells is something my parents taught me when I was little, where if there was a jogger or someone outside, you could never do this now, but we did this in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
You would slowly pull up your car behind them, and then everyone would open their car doors and scream on the top of their lungs. But scream like that, hideous yells at the person.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Also cruel. No, what I was asking was, did he just pick up a 6-pack, not tell anybody, sit in the front seat, and just slowly and surreptitiously crack one open at a time and drink it
No.
while your best friend is driving your parents from the airport to Arizona to see you in a play?
No.
Oh, wait, that was me. That was my experience.
If you were driving, he would have done that, but because
I'm
he
like,
was driving, he
Nick.
did not do that. Yeah. No, he was pretty well behaved on this trip. I was kind of surprised. We had a surprise 70th birthday party for him in New York.
Ugh, amazing. I bet it was fun.
It was so great. But I was like, he's going to end up in the ocean, like 100%, because he was on a dock. I'm like, and he at one point in the night was like,
he's going to get swept away.
At one point in the night, he walks up and he's really drunk and he goes, Nick's party was so awesome.
He says this about himself and his party?
Nick's party is so awesome that at the end of the night, Nick's party was so awesome. At the end of the night, he was looking for ideas of what crazy shit that he could do that would be like the talk of the town. Okay. And I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. But he got over it. I don't know why or how, but he got over it.
Wow. He's finally maybe learned how to not go too far.
He didn't go too far.
Wow,
I know.
Nick.
He didn't go too far.
It only took him 70 years, but he figured out how to be a normal person.
He was pretty well behaved. And even like crazy Uncle Eugene showed up.
Whoa, with the rats.
And he was pretty well behaved.
We have a joke about Uncle Eugene having like
in the basement
stuck
with
in
the rats.
It wasn't a real thing.
I mean, I don't mean to like out my family, but I'll just say this. You just never know what you're going to get with Uncle Eugene. He's a tough crowd. Okay. He's a tough crowd. He's a motley crew all on his own.
All on just within him.
And besides talking way too close during COVID and probably being an anti-vaxxer, he was pretty well behaved.
Okay,
I was
good.
Like,
everybody's learning.
I was really surprised.
Everybody's learning.
I was like, oh, Uncle Eugene's coming, I guess.
So we went to New York.
And then we went to a place called Chautauqua.
Where is that? In New York?
It's upstate New York, but it's 7 hours from the city. So we drove another 7 hours. We went to Chautauqua Institution.
Never heard of it.
It's a learning campus for older people. So there was like the symphony and knitting classes and sailing classes.
But they call it an institution.
An institution.
They shouldn't call it that. They're giving themselves away.
Well, it started, our hotel was built in like 18 something.
As a sanatorium.
It was like women teachers would be not bused there because they took a boat.
God.
What do you call that? Boated there.
Boated?
They were boated.
Shipped.
And they learned how to teach Sunday school there. And it started as like
This is all
it looked
very
like The Shining.
suspect.
It looked like The Shining.
There's
Chautauqua.
so many things wrong with this. Yeah.
There was no one our age that didn't have like children. There were some like younger people with kids.
Do people live there?
Well, it's seasonal, so they probably have like vacation homes there, but I don't think it gets it's on the border of Canada, Niagara Falls. Like I don't think people live there like year round. You know,
Niagara Falls is beautiful, but it's kind of weird.
Then we went to Niagara Falls.
Okay, yeah. Wait, I'm sorry. Chautauqua is an actual town, or it's just a sanatorium or an institution?
I think Chautauqua is the town, but people only go there for the Chautauqua Institution.
And you went inside?
Yeah, I went to the symphony.
Ghosts? Okay.
No, our hotel, like the night we got there, it was all like slanty floors and like weird creaks. We could hear my dad from like 2 floors down being like, "This looks like The Shining."
Oh.
It was like you could hear everything, you could smell everything. It was like kind of mildewy and old. And our closet door was open, and I was like, we have to close that. There's something something in the closet.
It's gonna stare at me in the night.
There's something in the closet.
Gotta close it.
Definitely weird vibes. And you definitely thought about death a lot while you were there because everyone was so old. So, like, it was making you think about like when I get older and like my parents are gonna die soon. Like it was kind of depressing.
I just have the weirdest visual of this place.
It was very One of Us. It was very, but
welcome to Chautauqua.
Waspy. Yes,
welcome to Chautauqua Institution.
Yes.
Are you here for the symphony? Stay a while.
Yes.
Here's your room. There's only one key. If you lose it, you're locked in for life.
It was 100% that.
Wow.
And everyone running it were like kids. Like it was
I literally just imagined like the children of the corn.
It was like camp counselors or children. It was like the whole town was run by child camp counselors.
This is horrifying. This is definitely the setup for a horror movie.
100%. And the only people that go there are really old. So there's
because they know they're going to die and they can abuse them and do what they want and they die and no one knows. And then they eat their bodies or they steal all their money. Like this is some kind of weird like old person death farm.
You could think of it that way, or you could think of it as like,
well, I do. From the way you described
these people are
it.
really old and they're still learning and growing.
Oh.
Either way you want to think about it. Either way, it's fine.
Please post pictures of it.
I will. It was very strange. We went to Lake Erie, escaped the parents and went to Lake Erie one day, which was really
that?
cool.
I don't think I've ever been to Lake Erie.
We just like found this hiking trail and someone told us about this beach.
Was that on? Is that the one that Niagara Falls is on? Must be.
Canada's on the other side.
But at
of
Lake
it.
Erie, is that the lake?
No, I think that's like Niagara Lake. I think that is like the lake.
It's not attached.
Yeah, we got to look it up.
We got to look it up. Is it attached to one of the Great Lakes though? It's got to be at some point. But
Niagara.
Is it like I'm looking
attached.
Google Maps.
To what?
Google Maps. Niagara Falls.
Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Woo. Very good.
Yeah, I went to Niagara Falls once, and it was really. Oh, I'm seeing it. Oh, it's sort of in between them.
Yeah, so Lake Erie is a lot bigger than Lake Ontario. It looks like in the map.
It doesn't look that much bigger.
Lake Erie is huge. Like when you go on it and you look out,
this is Lake Ontario.
You can't see the other side of it. It's like a sea.
Right. No, they're huge. That's why they're the Great Lakes.
And I brought you home a piece of driftwood from Lake Erie.
I love driftwood.
And it looks like a little pig snout because your nickname is Pig.
Yes, I love it. Thank you.
So we went to Lake Erie one day, went to Niagara Falls.
Super cool. Niagara Falls is weird. What I remember the most about it, besides the falls are actually really gorgeous, but the tourism of it all is so prevalent, and like I felt like the tourism, there's like a souvenir stand like inside the falls.
Yes.
Like it's crazy.
Yes.
It's like overrun.
It's really beautiful from that overlooks.
Yeah. As soon as you turn to the town, it's like
the town is like looks like Times Square almost.
It's like Coney Island.
There's like a service center, like a
it's wild.
Yeah, it looks kind of like Coney Island.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was magical trip, 2 weeks long, like almost a full 2 weeks, and we survived. I'm
so glad to hear it.
Yeah, it was
you
great.
Did it. You survived, and you were mostly like you had breaks, but you were basically with your family that whole time.
Yeah, in New York, we stayed in another hotel, so we had some like
Thank
alone
God.
time, but we still did stuff with them. And
Right.
then I had to be like, okay, but then today we're going to do this. You guys do that.
Mhm.
You know, so it was a lot of family, but I do feel like I really, it's hard for me to do, but I do feel like I put up some boundaries of like, we're going to do this with you, and then we're going to do this alone.
I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, it was good. It was
saved
great.
your sanity and probably your relationship.
And my parents are like really self-sufficient. They're like
yeah,
happy
they just
to be
wanted
on their
to be
own.
with you all the
Yes,
time. But
yes.
if you establish a boundary, I'm sure they were
Yes.
fine with it. I
we
would
went to
hope.
the MoMA. We went to the Natural
Nice.
History Museum.
Oh, it's my favorite.
It was really, there was a gem exhibit at the Natural History Museum that was really amazing.
Ooh, what's your favorite gem?
There were too many.
Too many to
even.
even
It was
count.
so overwhelming. You actually couldn't even see anything.
I see.
You know what I mean? It was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where to start.
I like an emerald.
I love an emerald. I think an emerald's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's what we went up
And I went down.
and you went down. So what did you do?
So I flew into Charlotte, North Carolina, rented a car, drove with a couple friends over to the lake house.
You had that car the whole time.
whole time. Well, not the whole time. I had it for 10 days.
Oh, wow.
And I was away for a little over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we got the car, drove to the lake house, which was super fun. Lots of partying, eating, just relaxing, swimming. We rented a pontoon boat one
Fun.
day and like took those dueling dragons and a couple
Yeah.
other floats out to like the middle of the lake and
Cute.
like through the anchor and just was like we're swimming around
Love
and like
it.
floating. It was just really, really fun. It was a good mix of like activity and relaxation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then drove one of my friends to the airport where I picked up my mom, who had flown in from Philly. And we went on a magical mom and daughter road trip. Only
Love
had
it.
a couple of little scuffles, but like we talked it out. It was very nice.
Civilized.
It was very civilized, and it was very fun.
Where'd you go?
So the first night we went to Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay, and that's on the beach.
Which is it's very near the beach. The thing we didn't do a lot of on this trip was beach stuff because it was extremely hot and my mom is not a beach hot person.
Right.
So we said hi to a few beaches, but we never stayed for tea,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, but it's also like a college town and it's kind of a small town and there's not a lot of waterfront. There's a river that goes, I think it's the Cape Fear River.
That's where also Dawson's Creek did a lot of their filming.
Yes. And we saw evidence of that in a lot of.
Oh, you did?
No, I never watched Dawson's Creek,
neither.
but that's one of their claims to fame. So there were posters of Dawson's Creek
Yes.
everywhere you went. Like we took a carriage ride tour. They're like, here's where some of the Dawson's Creek and I'm
Hilarious.
like, woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some other films and TV shows that I don't think I've ever seen either, but that were also like famous.
Yeah.
In the same way that Dawson's Creek was, I guess. So I'm just not familiar, but heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a carriage ride tour and I felt good
Cute.
about it because I did my research. I'm like, this one, they're like legitimately use rescue horses and like give them 6 weeks off, 1 week on. They live like the best lives. It was really cute.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. And yeah, just had like a couple meals by the river. And then we stayed one night in I keep wanting to say Airbnb, but it was an
Bed and
actual
breakfast?
B&B,
Yeah.
a bed and breakfast. This beautiful old house with this adorable innkeeper
Love it.
who like we thought was gay, but I don't think he kept referencing his wife Karen, but we're like, we don't see anyone
Where's
else.
Karen?
Where's Karen? So me and my mom had this joke like, is Karen real? Is Karen his beard? Is Karen even
Right.
real? Like, is it him cooking the food
It's
back
really
there?
Carl.
Right, exactly. But like, maybe he was, that's just us like judging, or maybe it's our real gaydar and who knows? He lives in Wilmington. Maybe he doesn't feel comfortable coming out, or maybe he's just, kind of a slightly eccentric innkeeper. He was very nice.
On that topic, where
Yeah.
we stayed in North Carolina when we met up with you guys, our Airbnb owner was a gay man who was married to a woman, had a couple of kids, left her for a man. That's the story
Right.
I was getting from
And
it
I
all.
just feel like he's
Yes.
not in that part of his story yet,
Right.
but
But he'll get there.
maybe.
Yeah,
Or
he'll
maybe
get-
they have an arrangement. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, right. Then we drove to Charleston, South Carolina. Super cool town.
Yeah.
Food heavy. Like we ate
Yeah.
so well on this trip because me and my mom both love.
That's Southern
love to eat.
food.
And like we did it right. Like we mixed it up from like kind of heavy Southern
Yeah.
staples to like other things. Like
Yeah.
we did. I mean, don't get me wrong. I gained like 10 pounds on this trip, but yeah,
You
we
have
did it
to
right.
do it.
We did it right.
Did you see a lot of bachelorette parties? Because apparently it's the new like Nashville.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I can't recall, but probably.
Yeah.
I know. I think we did. No, I think we saw one in Savannah, which is where we
Okay,
went
okay.
next. Yeah, we went to Savannah. It was so hot. I was like worried my mom was going to pass out, but she was fine. But it was like a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
they were also having a heat wave, and it's the middle of summer.
Yeah.
And it was hotter. It was
Humid.
hotter than Florida.
Wow.
Then we went to St. Augustine for one night, and just drove home the next day back to Florida
Nice.
to the
COVID epicenter.
COVID epicenter, South Florida. And I
Hometown.
stayed there for like almost a week. My sister's pregnant, so I needed to
Wow.
like touch her belly and hang out with her,
Yeah.
and it was really nice.
That sounds like a dream.
Yeah. So for my pop quiz today, I've prepared a couple of games just based on tours that I went on with my mom. So I told you we went on a
Ooh.
carriage tour in Wilmington. There's nothing about that, but I have the tour from Charleston and the tour from Savannah. Two different
Ooh,
subjects.
I like it.
So that's what I've prepared. What have you prepared for me today?
Well, I went as far as New York, and you went as low as Florida. So I thought
I did go as low. It is pretty
It is
low.
low.
Yeah.
I did a New York and Florida quiz.
Okay.
New York versus Florida, and then I did a North Carolina quiz because we were both. That's the only place we both
had in common.
went to
Right.
was North Carolina.
Okay. Cool. Should we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Fuck you, I'm smarter.
So we're gonna play. I didn't name this quiz.
Oh no.
I forgot we do that on this show. It's been so long.
It's what you do mostly.
Um,
I'm lazy about it.
Let's call. What do they call people that move from New York to Florida?
Snowbirds?
Actually, my dad calls them Floridians. The ones that go back. Let's call this the snowbird quiz.
Floridians.
The snowbird Floridian quiz.
Okay.
Kelly,
Yeah.
this state, so you're going to pick New York or Florida. This state is lacking a state motto. The state legislator has yet to formally adopt one after all these years. We can assume they're still open for suggestions, but don't hold your breath because they've gone 165 years without one, so they're clearly not in a rush. Which state does not have a state motto? New York or Florida?
I'm going to guess Florida.
That is correct.
I just feel like nobody is on that.
They're like, we're
they
not.
don't care.
We don't
We
care.
don't stand for anything.
We're not wearing masks and we're not having a state motto.
It's too much. You're asking way too much of us. It's against my civil liberty and my personal freedom to create a state motto.
Right. On that same note, do you know New York's state motto? I can give you an A, B, and C.
Smiling eyes.
Smiling eyes is their state motto. Whose eyes are smiling?
Irish eyes
The
are smiling.
Irish eyes are smiling. Wow. That is not.
No.
I'll give you A, B, and C.
Oh, okay.
Is it A, the people rule?
The people rule, bro.
B, ever upward?
Or
Or C, liberty and independence?
the people rule.
No, it's actually ever upward, with which it's actually Latin excelsior, which means ever upward. So if you look
So
up
it's
their state motto,
Excelsior.
it's excelsior.
Isn't that the name of a sword?
Yeah, it's like a name of a He-Man character or something in my brain.
Can we look it up? It's He-Man's sword.
Excelsior.
Isn't
You're thinking of You're thinking of Excalibur.
Oh, am I?
What's Excalibur?
Excelsior was a magical sword created by the first Kree-Skrull hybrid Doric Supreme by merging the two ancestral swords he inherited from his
Yeah, you
parent.
would
I don't know
never
what
have
the
known that.
fuck Marvel bullshit
But
that is.
Excalibur maybe is something.
Okay. Yeah, is that like King Arthur?
It might be King Arthur. It's also a hotel in Vegas.
Excalibur is the legendary sword of King Arthur, sometimes also attributed with magical powers or associated with the rightful sovereignty of Britain. Okay,
Yeah.
He-Man sword.
It's not that.
No.
It's Excelsior.
Ever upwards.
Ever upward.
In the cartoon, the sorceress of Grayskull gives Prince Adam the power sword, which allows him to transform into He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Literally just called the power sword. That's not creative at all.
They could have put a little more
They
thought
really
into
could have.
that, you know?
Yeah. Anyways, thank you for that.
Number 3. This is the 4th most populated state in the United States. Is it New York or is it Florida? The fourth most populated state.
Ooh,
Florida or New York?
I'm going to say Florida.
That is correct. Let's get into it. Can you name the top 5 most populated states? Not even in order. Can you name the top 5
Thank you
most
for not
populated states?
Making me do it in order. I think New York is one of them. I think it's more than
Yes.
Florida. That's why I said Florida, because I thought New York was probably, because of New York City, it's probably more populated. Is that true?
New York is right under.
It's number 5?
It says it's this list has it as number 4. I think I got that wrong. I think it is. It's New York, but it is under Florida.
Oh, then I got it wrong.
There's less
I
people.
see.
Yes.
There's less people
in
in
New York than Florida.
There's less people in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay, but it's still one of the top 5. So we have New York, Florida, California.
Mm-hmm.
New York, Florida, California. Texas?
Yeah. There's one more.
Who could it be? Who?
I can give you a lifeline, but you have to guess first, and then I'll give you a lifeline.
Okay. I'm gonna say, I'm going out on a limb here.
Yeah. Going out on a limb, eh?
Michigan.
No, it's a state that you hold dear to your heart.
Pennsylvania?
Yes. So California has about 39 million. Pennsylvania has about 12 million. Yep. All right.
Interesting.
Kelly, there's a city called Florida in New York State.
Of course there is.
And a city called New York in Florida.
Not surprised.
There's also a New York in Kentucky, Iowa, Texas, and Missouri.
Why?
I don't know. Which one of these states is not home to either a New York mountain or the New York Mountains? So one of these has no mountain or mountains called the New York Mountain or Mountains. Is it Colorado, California, or Nevada? Colorado, California,
California.
or Nevada? It's actually Nevada.
I felt like they would do something like that.
There's a New York City in Kentucky, Iowa, Texas, and Missouri. And then there's a New York Mountain in Colorado, the New York Mountains in California, or vice versa. I didn't write down which has what.
Good job. Teach.
Kelly, can you tell me which of the 50 states is the furthest south?
Yeah, of course I can do that, Lindsay. Duh.
Which of the 50 states is the furthest south?
Well, I was told that the answers were either New York or Florida, so
What if they were?
I'm going to
and what
say
if they
Florida.
weren't?
I'm going to say Florida.
Can you think of a state that's even further south than Florida? If there was a state.
If there was a state,
What state would it be?
I mean,
20 degrees.
20 degrees.
It's 5 degrees further south than
Is
Florida.
it like Hawaii?
Yes.
Oh.
Calais South Cape, Hawaii, is actually 5 degrees further south than the southernmost tip of Florida.
Just the tip.
Just the tip.
They say that a lot in Florida.
Back to New York or LA. Or, I'm sorry, New York or Florida. This state was once called New Orange. New Orange.
New Orange.
Got a lot of oranges in Florida, eh? But New York, it's confusing. I don't know.
Stop trying to throw me off.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Which state was once
New
called-
York.
That is correct. In 1673, the Dutch captured New York from the English and dubbed it New Orange in honor of William III of Orange. However, the following year, the city reverted to English control and its former name, the Duke of York, New Amsterdam, New York. All right, one more question.
Okay.
Speaking of oranges, citrus has been farmed commercially in Florida groves since the mid-1800s. The first citrus was brought to the New World in 1493 by Christopher Columbus. In the mid-1500s...
So don't say Christopher Columbus never did anything for America, right?
Yeah,
Is that what you're trying
Johnny
to say?
Appleseed. In the mid-1500s, one of the early Spanish explorers planted the first orange trees around blank in Florida. Where was it?
St. Augustine.
That is correct. And who was it, Kelly?
Ponce de Leon.
That is correct.
Oh my God. And I did spend one night in St. Augustine on this trip, but I already knew that, I guess.
When you grow up
I
in
love
Florida,
St.
they
Augustine.
take you to St. Augustine in 4th grade. Did you go?
No, I went with my mom.
We went on a school trip. It was
Really?
like a 4th grade
That's
school trip to
amazing.
St. Augustine. And my dad was a chaperone, and he let us watch The Simpsons, which was kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal for sure.
And he snuck us out to one of the days to like get candy.
And he did sit next to the bus driver and crack open those beers.
Yeah. Well, that was Floridians, Snowbird, Floridians of the Snowbirds.
I love it. Well, Lindsay, Danielle,
Yes.
Gentile.
Yes. Kelly Webner Wallace, Barn Owl.
I should change my name legally to Barn
I
Owl.
wish you would.
Ooh, that's not a bad idea.
It's a great.
That could be my stage name. What if it's just
Kelly Webner
No.
Wallace.
What if it's just Barn
Owl?
Owl?
I'm into it.
I like it.
I think it would
Wha-
attract a lot of attention
what
and
if
maybe
I-
more listeners.
Should I get those? You've seen the guy who cut off his ears and like they had a surgeon like create his ear into a bird's ear, right? Which is basically nothing. Like he
No.
just, it looks like nothing.
No, but you could do that.
Yeah.
We could also get your
I want a
eyes
tattoo.
like surgically widened.
I need to get fully new eyes though, because I need to be able to like turn.
Right.
Don't
need
they
to
like-
get, we need to
oh,
implant
no,
eyes in
it's-
the back of your head.
No. I need to fix my
Your
my
neck.
my neck so that
Yeah.
I can swivel
Yeah.
my head.
And then
That's
I
what it
think I'm
is.
going to take a hot glue gun and I'm going to get feathers.
Yeah.
And I'm going to
Tar and feather
glue
me.
them all over to your
You're
face.
going to tar and feather me. Well, that's appropriate because we're going back to the colonial times.
Wow.
Woo!
Can't wait.
So basically, Lindsay, my mom and I, when we were in Charleston, we took a tour.
Okay.
And the name of this tour was the Gullah Tour.
Think I've heard of this.
Okay. So the Gullah people or the Gullah Geechee people are native to this area as well as some of the other like lowland areas there. Well, they're not native. They were enslaved people that created like they retained a lot of their culture and some of the language, but it's also like a patois. So anyway, they're like they only live there, right? And they
Yeah.
came out of the situations of, you know, slavery and different tribes being like together. But anyway, so they have a very unique culture to this area.
Okay.
And we went on a tour with a guy who's like an educator and he wrote a book and he's a Gullah guide.
He's a Gullah.
He's a Gullah guide.
Wow,
Yeah.
cool.
So he's a man, he's not really a guy.
So there's still a lot of people living there that have
Oh,
that
yeah.
culture.
Mm-hmm. And it's a
Wow.
language too, that there's like English words, there's some French, there's some Spanish, like different, whoever like it all kind of became a language.
Okay,
you know,
cool.
It's not like written, I don't think, but it's just, but it's a lot of people speak it. So yeah, did you ever watch the show Gullah Gullah Island?
I've heard of it.
It was on like
Nickelodeon?
Yeah, and my sister watched it, and I remember the theme song, and I must have watched it with her, but I don't remember it at all.
What was the theme song?
I just remember them going Gullah Gullah Island,
Yeah.
Gullah Gullah Island. I don't know the rest of it.
Wow.
But yeah,
That's
so anyway,
cool and progressive.
yeah, and it was in the 90s.
Wow.
Go figure. So yeah, it was a Nick Jr. television show from the 90s. So Gullah Gullah Island is a fictional place, but the culture and people that inspired the show are real.
Wow.
Yeah, so that it was based on the traditions of the Gullah Geechee people, direct descendants of West Africans, who were rice-growing tribes. And then that's why they were brought over. Like it was very strategic. That's why they were enslaved. They're like, oh, these people know how to grow rice. We're going to bring them over and grow
make them
rice,
figure that
because
out.
in this area, I believe, in the Charleston area, rice was even bigger than cotton.
Wow. Okay.
So they were like, these people like know what the fuck they're doing with rice. We don't know what we're doing because we're just assholes.
Right.
And all we do is like sail around and enslave people.
Right.
So, yeah. So they
Wow.
brought them over, and that's how they were able to like build all those plantations and build all their wealth. Right. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions based off of what I learned on this tour.
Okay.
So, number 1, the unique rhythms and accompanying dance rituals of Gullah culture were often taken over by Charleston's early jazz and ragtime musicians. Lindsey, can you tell me what's the most famous example of this appropriation of a dance of the Gullah people? What dance did they take from them?
Like a soft shoe?
I'll give you a hint.
Mm-hmm.
It's the name of the city. It's not a hint.
The Charleston.
The Charleston.
They took the Charleston.
The Charleston was created by. It's based in
Wow.
West African dance.
That's incredible.
Isn't that cool?
Yes.
Yeah, and so that leads into my question number 2. The Charleston dance is the most famous example of this. How did the Charleston dance become popularized? Was it A, by a composer, B, by a circus performer, or C, a local band of orphans?
Ooh. I think a composer.
Yes, it was actually a composer named James P. Johnson who wrote a song called Charleston for his musical Runnin' Wild, and it really took off.
Wow.
Now, I would also have accepted a local band of orphans.
I wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I would have
the
also
answer.
accepted that because there was this guy this African-American reverend from like the late 1800s who started an orphanage, and it was like very progressive and very good, and like he like had all these young kids, and who knows, I got the impression, at least from our tour guide, that it was very positive, and I feel like it was. But anyway, they taught them all kinds of stuff: farming, butchering, printing, housekeeping, and a lot of them went on to like have like better, like good lives, for the time. And they also had a very famous band, like kind of a marching band, it looks like from the pictures. I don't know if they actually marched, but it was that kind of like brass band,
Cool.
big drums, da 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 da. And they traveled the world. Like they actually went on tours in like Europe and all across the US. And apparently they went to New York, and they met up with this dude, James P. Johnson, who wrote who wrote the Charleston song. And like then he taught it to them, but he had learned it from another Gullah person, like when he was in the South. It's this whole story, but then it like people watched them dancing and playing the Charleston, and then like all the white ladies are like, they don't teach us that, and so they're like doing it in the street with them, and then it just like blew up.
Wow, that's amazing.
Cool.
Do you remember when we saw that big band of kids in New Orleans? We went to a charity event.
Yeah, that was so rad.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
It was like
that, but orphans.
Yeah.
In the 1800s. Oh.
Ba.
Oh, extra credit. Do you know what other famous musical is associated with Charleston? It's also called an opera.
It's called an opera.
It's called
the
an
musical.
opera. And it was written by a guy
Is it?
from Charleston
So I feel like
and based on a real person who lived in Charleston.
I feel like it would have to either be like Some Like It Hot or Porgy and Bess.
It's Porgy and Bess.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is Porgy and Bess the one that sings
Summertime?
Summertime? Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I've never actually seen it.
Me neither.
My mom is like, you've never seen it? She gets very angry at me. But she never showed it to me. Yet it's her favorite musical or her favorite opera or whatever. And she's sang Summertime to me since the time I'm a baby. So like I have such a connection to that song, but I've never seen it.
Wow.
So I would like to.
We need
Anyway,
to see it.
but then apparently, so like Porgy was portrayed in the show as being like very sympathetic, but apparently he was like a piece of shit in real life. He was like, very abusive and killed people and Anyways,
yikes.
Number 3. There's a street in Charleston called Calhoun Street, named for John C. Calhoun, a statesman and politician from Abbeville, South Carolina. What else was he known for, Lindsay?
Calhoun.
A, serving several positions inside state and federal governments, most notably as vice president to John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson. B, a notoriously violent and racist piece of shit who adamantly defended slavery to protect the interests of the white South. Or C, Lena Horne's great-granduncle.
Who's Lena Horne?
She is a performer, singer. Let me see.
That's so obscure. I feel like that's got to be the answer.
American dancer, actress, Grammy Award-winning singer, and civil rights activist.
I want to say the racist one, but that's such a weird thing for you to just pull out of your ass.
I know.
So I'm going with the third one.
That is correct, and I would have accepted all of those answers.
Was he also racist?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he was also vice president for 2 living presidents?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Wow.
And he's also Lena Horne's great-granduncle, and Lena Horne is black.
I've heard of her.
I mean, she comes from mixed,
Yes.
obviously, ancestry, but yeah, she's black.
But I don't know. Like,
2010.
I've heard of her, but I don't know, like, her voice, you know?
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll play a little thing right here. But yeah, her full name is Lena Mary Calhoun Horne.
Interesting.
I know.
Interesting.
Yeah, because one of John Calhoun's nephews had slaves, and of course, what did they do with their female slaves? And she's descended from that atrocity.
Wow.
But we got her out of it, so that's good. There was a huge statue of John C. Calhoun in one of the squares in the city that was finally removed in 2020, and people celebrated. And we learned on our tour that Black Charlestonians today call Calhoun Street Kilhoun Street.
Wow.
Which like a lot of white people just brushed off as like, they're like, oh, they just have a speech impediment or whatever. And an old lady's like, oh, please, we can say Calhoun. We mean to say Kilhoun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's called Kilhoun Street.
When we went to the Natural History Museum, there's a statue in the front of Roosevelt.
Which one?
I think it's the one we like.
Which is FDR?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's FDR. And then
the one that was
a
an
Native
Annie?
American man.
Uh-huh.
And an African American man. And Roosevelt, FDR, the one from Annie, is on a horse.
Is it the woman in the horse? Is he the woman in the horse? If FDR was the woman in the horse, this whole thing would have come full circle. Johnny Appleseed, Christopher Columbus, it's all coming together. This is Lindsay's fantasy history world. Yeah.
But they're taking down the statue, and there's a lot of controversy around it because some people, like, there's this whole thing on the wall talking about why. Some people feel like he's superior on the horse and the other two are on the floor and they're inferior to him. But there's a lot of like the man.
He rode a wheelchair, not a horse, right? Hey-o.
the man who made the sculpture, I forget the name of the man who did, but he's like, no, it's 3 people coming together and this new land or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like a lot of research shows that like he really wasn't the best when it comes to like slavery and Native Americans. And so like nobody really believes that.
Right.
So there's this whole, the first thing you see now when you walk in the Natural History Museum is a huge picture of the statue, even though you just saw it outside. And explaining like they're taking it down and why and what are the different sides. It was really interesting because I hadn't heard of that one.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And after reading it, I saw both arguments about it.
Sure.
And only the sculptor knows what his intention was. But if you look at history and you see that there wasn't a great relationship or that maybe he wasn't seen to those groups as being a martyr,
right?
You know, you have to like listen to that and move forward.
Absolutely. You have to listen. You also like if you're creating a piece of artwork and everyone hates your art, like
you have to move.
Not that everyone
forward.
does hate it, but like, you know, I think that you do have to be open to hard conversations about like how, you know, what perspective are you coming from? Like, like your intentions may have been good. He
may have had great intentions.
Sure, but like, but he's coming also from a place of thinking that these people all wanted to be together and that it was actually a good union of people and like good things came of it. And maybe to some people that just isn't true or just, you know, it's not maybe incorporating everyone's experience.
Yeah, it's one man's perspective making a sculpture.
Right, and he was probably white.
I believe he was.
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, you gotta...
It was interesting.
You gotta be open to...
You gotta move forward, you know?
Hearing what other people have to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's the kind of basic bottom line.
Yeah. Kilhoun Street. Is that it?
No. It's not over for you.
It's never
I just think I have like 2 more questions.
Great.
Lindsay, number 5.
Talk to me.
For all of its inherent racism, Charleston can boast being the birthplace of the first black what in America?
Ooh.
A, the first black senator. B, the first black law firm. Or C, the first black newspaper.
I've done a lot of like senator talk. I don't remember any of
you're
it,
a senator's girl.
but I don't remember Charleston being involved. So I'm going to rule that one out.
Okay.
Then it was what? Lawyer and what?
Law firm.
Or
newspaper.
And I did a newspaper thing
You
too.
did.
And I don't remember Charleston being involved.
Okay.
So I'm going law office.
Yes.
Now here's what's not working with this podcast.
Okay.
I remember talking about the newspaper and I remember the senators, but I don't remember who they were or what they were.
I can tell you.
Okay.
First, let's talk about the law office of Whipper, Elliott, and Allen, because that is the first black law office in America, 1868.
Wow.
I mean, what is that? Like 3 to 4 years after slavery ended? Amazing.
Wow.
So they were obviously not enslaved.
That's also
before,
the year that my hotel at the Chautauqua Institution was built, I think.
And the age or the birth date of the birth year of its oldest resident who's still there haunting the place.
Wait.
1868, someone died in your institution and is still haunting the place.
He was actually a lawyer at the law
office.
he
was at the law office
in Charleston.
And then he moved to
Chautauqua.
And where he died.
Yes.
Yeah, so William Whipper was the son of a well-known and wealthy Philadelphia family. Shout out Philly. He was a prominent lawyer in Beaufort, South Carolina, and a black Reconstruction legislator. And then Robert Brown Elliott, born in Liverpool, England, came to Boston, then to Charleston, became an editor of a black newspaper, which in the book that I bought from our tour guide, Alfonso Brown, he says that was the first black newspaper, but I've read otherwise on the internet. So no offense, Alfonso, but I just don't know.
I have read otherwise as well and talked about it on the show, but who knows?
And then,
we don't know.
And then the last guy, Macon B. Allen, born a free black, was the first black licensed lawyer in the United States. He passed the bar in Maine and Massachusetts and then moved to South Carolina and he was a state senator and a judge.
Okay.
Oh, and one of the other guys, Robert Brown Elliott, was also on the South Carolina House of Representatives. So these guys were in politics too.
Wow.
I mean, pretty incredible. 1868.
That's
So,
amazing.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and so you wanted to know about the first newspaper. I believe it was Freedom's Journal, March 16th, 1827, a 4-page, 4-column, standard size weekly. Freedom's Journal was the first black-owned and operated newspaper in the United States, and it was established in New York City.
2 steps forward, 2 steps back. We come together like opposites attracting.
I don't get it.
Well, it's like we were like
It
heading
ain't
somewhere.
fiction.
We were heading somewhere good, and then just
In 1827.
we were heading somewhere progressive and good. You know.
And then who was the other thing? Oh, the first black senator. I may not have written it down.
I think I was thinking women.
Oh,
We were talking about
the first female black senator. Well, that's you know what, kids, do your own
Extra
research.
credit.
Yeah. All right. I have one more question about Denmark Vesey, because he's a very important figure in Charleston history, especially for black people there. Denmark Vesey was an African-American leader in Charleston, South Carolina, born into slavery. He was able to win a lottery to purchase his freedom.
Whoa.
I know. He started a business. He was a carpenter, had a family, but he had his first wife and their children were still enslaved, and he was unable to buy them out of slavery. He started one of the founders of the African Methodist Episcopal Congregation, the AME, which is like a big church down there. In June of 1822, he was accused and convicted of something. Lindsay, what was he accused and convicted of? Was it A, violating slave code rules that prohibited black congregations from holding worship services after sunset because a lot of his congregation were enslaved? B, making inappropriate advances on a white woman, or C, being the leader of a planned slave revolt?
See?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was hanged.
Ooh.
They didn't get to do it, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah, but he was like a hero. I mean, he's a hero. He went right before he died. He told his minister, he's like, "I'm gonna die for a glorious cause." So
wow.
I know, it's so sad.
You know, it's interesting. Like when we were driving through Virginia, there was a gas station called Dixieland.
Yeah.
And we didn't get gas. Maybe we got gas. We went in and got like a water or something. And I actually didn't really even see the Dixieland sign at first. Like I walked in, I got some water, and everyone in there was black. And then I walked out and I saw the sign. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Everyone in there is black.
Well, they grow up with it. They grow up there.
They're so desensitized
what are they supposed to do? Yeah,
to it. And then Bradley texted me from inside and was like, did you see like what's in there? And I was like, no, because I just got water and left.
Oh, like merch?
Rows of merch.
Of like Confederate flags
Rows.
and shit.
The whole place.
Yeah.
Bed sheets, shirts, shot glasses, coffee mugs. Like we were like, holy shit. It's
wild. It's
crazy.
really wild.
Because we grew up in Florida, but we grew up like in the most liberal parts of it. It really doesn't feel like the South unless you drive.
Yeah, unless you drive. There was one
plug me in
person that I recall being, well, there was a few like, and we were known as the Cooper City Cowboys. That was our mascot for high school. But that was not, I wouldn't say that like that kind of like cowboy theme was the dominant group at all. However, it was there a little bit. I remember like one girl sticks out to me. I'm like, she wears fatigues a lot. But like that was literally, it's like there's like two people.
I think our parents did like a really good job of shielding us from even seeing it, to be honest.
I think they did too. I mean, in retrospect, we probably should have had more conversations about it. But however, I mean, we grew up with very liberal
Like growing.
parents from, New York and Philly.
I'm
and
thinking of
whatever,
if I grew up in Charleston and there's
Yeah.
this unbelievable history there
Yeah.
of slavery and like hardship that literally built the buildings that I'm going to school or the courthouse or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like I'm walking into a building that has so much like slavery, like in the
Literally.
bones of it.
Absolutely. And the bones are everywhere too.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you're there for like a bachelorette party. And like, it's just so crazy. Like, it's just so important to go on these tours and like be reminded of who built this town, like who built this land, like who gave the culture,
Yeah.
who gave the Charleston to fucking Charleston, like who did that, I mean, I think that's really cool that you guys did that and brought it onto the show. I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, it's not as important as knowing what state has the most people, but we'll take it.
Which one was the most populated? Did you even tell us?
The most populated was California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just honestly surprised that Florida has
California, then Texas, then Florida, then New York, then Pennsylvania.
Okay. All right. Well,
look, I don't want to do something controversial, but I feel like we're going long here, and maybe we need to make our listeners wait for more quizzes.
I think that's a great idea.
What do you think about that?
No, I think we're going long, and we could probably. This is a pop quiz, right?
Do you think people will be upset with us if they don't hear the North Carolina quiz that I promised them?
Well, they can come back next week for it. This is called a cliffhanger, baby. This is show business.
Look, teacher had a long night, okay?
I'm about to pop open a bottle of wine. I don't know about you.
She's hungover from last night. She's ready for the school day to be over.
Mhm.
And you're going to have to tune in next week to hear about North Carolina
and
Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about ghosts.
Ooh, are we having a ghost guest?
We're going on a ghost tour.
Yay!
Lindsay.
Yes.
I never told you the name of this game. I did name it.
What's the name of it?
I channeled you. Ooh la lychee, it's the Gullah Geechee.
Ooh, lychee martinis all day and night.
Didn't drink one, but I want one now. Thanks for mentioning it.
Well, listeners, that's the first half of our road trip pop quiz. We missed you dearly.
We love you. Please reach out to us. You can email us at
what is it?
I'm smarter at gmail.com.
It's AOL.com, actually. She's
Shut
looking
up.
at me like that might be real information. I'm actually concerned.
Shut up.
Kelly, you can never leave me for that long again.
You left me too.
I know you left for a
We
long.
left
You
each
were left
other.
like you were gone a
left-
full week.
You left before I left, and then I came back after you got back.
It was.
I was gone for a little longer than you, but the
was-
way it was arranged made it. We were gone from each other for a long time.
It was a long time, you guys.
I'm fine with it, but
I don't know if we already said this, but rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends. We
Please
need
do.
more listeners, you guys, or I'm moving. And I'm
Whoa,
leaving
this is the first I'm hearing of this.
I'm leaving this town behind me.
Lindsay.
No, I'm leaving.
This
I'm
is
leaving you.
This is actually very unhealthy. We're not doing ultimatums, okay? We've evolved past that.
No, we love you guys, and we thank you to our listeners for listening. Tell your friends if you have any Savannah, Charleston, North Carolina, or Florida knowledge, please drop it on us.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Fuck you, I'm smarter.